Okay, so I forgot just how good anime films can be, most notably the films from Studio Ghibli. Over the past week, I've watched a couple of Studio Ghibli films, that being Princess Mononoke, My Neighbor the Yamadas, and Whisper of the Heart. All films directed by different people and all very different in terms of tone, style, and presentation. I'm actually really glad I ended up watching these three, because while I was watching them, I realized just how diverse of a film catalog this studio actually has. Honestly, you guys don't need me to tell you that. They are probably one of the most well-known Japanese animation studios ever, not just in Japan, but here in the West. So, full spoiler warning on all three of these films because I will be spoiling anything and everything. Okay, so the first film on the list is none other than Princess Mononoke, directed by Mr. Big Shot himself, Hayao I Hate Anime Miyazaki. Now, I have neglected to watch this film for the longest time. Back when Toonami was airing the whole Miyazaki marathon, I saw Spirited Away and Castle in the Sky, but I missed out on Mononoke. But now, after watching it for the first time, yeah, missing out is the best way to put it. Not to sound like a stompy old man who hates new films or something, but they really don't make them like they used to. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen this film already, so I won't really be going into the story too much. I just kind of want to bring up a couple of aspects that really stood out to me. The main thing I really want to emphasize is just how much work went into the crowds and backgrounds of this film. Every single time there was a crowd shot, there was movement. No still characters with indiscernible faces, and absolutely no stiff-ass CGI crowds. Even shows that I really enjoy always have a problem with this. Like literally, I freaking love Yuru Camp or Laid Back Camp, but it has these moments where the characters are like driving somewhere or like they're going on the road trip or whatever, and you see this, like, I mean, come on, man. I know what some of you might be saying. Dude, this is a show and it can't possibly look as good as a full-length film. And to a certain extent, I do agree with you, but even films do this. I mean, I was watching Wolf Children with a friend once, and then I completely forgot that there's this scene at the beginning of the film where Hana is walking through the city, and you see this. Don't get me wrong, I love the movie, and this is certainly not enough to lose all my immersion, but for that brief instance, I did. Then there's the scene in Princess Mononoke where Ashitaka is walking through Irontown and you see the town and it just feels so lived in. People walking back and forth with everyone having unique facial expressions. Literally, these nameless background characters have more expression and uniqueness than some protagonists in other modern shows. All these little details really make the world seem bigger and alive. And that's also helped with the fact that the issues that are prevalent in the film are very gray. I mean, no one is actually bad and no one is entirely good. And that was a very pleasant surprise. I did not see that coming. And that stayed for the majority of the film except for like towards the end. By the end of it, Lady Eboshi and the monk guy, they really just turned into the villains of the story. Because, I mean, when you're trying to kill nature, you really start to lose that gray area. And I'm not saying figuratively, but I literally mean they tried to kill nature. They decapitated his ass. At least they had a bit of redemption by the end. Well, at least Lady Eboshi did. The monk guy kind of just gave up and that's it. Also, I guess the romance was a bit out of nowhere. I'm sure it might have been like a love at first sight sort of thing. Because I mean, like when I see a girl covered in wolf's blood, I'm like, yes, that's what I need in my life. But even the sudden romance I'm willing to slip by because by the end, they didn't even get together. Like, they were just kind of like, yeah, that was cool. Thanks for helping me. Sure, but I still hate humans. And okay, I guess I'll see you around. And she's like, okay, bye. Overall, 7 out of 5. It's a good movie. You should watch it, but you probably already have. So there's no point in me telling you. Okay, moving on to the next film. It's none other than My Neighbor the Yamadas, directed by R.I.P. Isao Takahata. Okay, so real talk, Isao Takahata is like my favorite Ghibli director. And this movie really cemented that. This film has a very minimalist design to it. There's often little to no background, and the characters are made up of very simple geometric shape. But this film makes use of very simple designs by having a lot of freaking movement. And if anyone tells you that this movie looks worse than, say, generic anime of the season, then they are wrong. This film looks fucking stupid good. Also, just so you know, I actually did watch this in English. I usually watch anime in Japanese, but in this case, I feel as though the film is pretty universal in terms of subject matter and cultural references, so I thought it was okay. Takahata is one of the best at blending realism and metaphor. He has shown this before in his other films, however, I think this might be his best and also my favorite. I know I'm going out on a limb here. Yeah, I love Grave of the Fireflies only yesterday and The Tale of Princess Kaguya, and I have not watched Pampoko yet. I know I'll get to it as soon as possible, but I think this is his best film. Takahata really knows how to make a mundane situation and put so much charm and imagination where often a moment in someone's life or a feeling they're having is explained all through visual storytelling. There are a lot of sequences in this film that are very relatable, and I am saying that as a Mexican American male watching a film that was made in Japan. There's nothing here that will be lost in translation. I'm pretty sure that everyone in some point in their life will relate to something in this film. And I feel that's what's gonna make this film last, because if I watch this movie 10 or 20 years from now, I will see it in a totally different light because I'll be older and I might relate to Matsuko or Takashi more. And at some point we will all eventually relate to the grandma.
I wonder how many more times I'll see the cherry blossoms in bloom.
What are you talking about, Mother? You're still young. You're only 70.
About 30 more times then, I guess.
For me now, I see a lot of myself in Noboru, just because I'm also the only son of a family of 4. It's mostly simple things like having a nosy mother and just how similar our mornings were when I used to go to school, with me and my father coming back and forth because we forgot 1 or 2 things.
Where's my shoe? Where's my shoe?
Watch it!
You too? What's the matter with you two?
My favorite moment, however, is when the father, Takashi, is asked to confront a noisy biker gang that recently started hanging around the neighborhood, and reluctantly he ended up doing it only to be completely useless and accomplish nothing at the end. At that moment, Takashi failed to be the hero, but not to us and not really to his family, only really to himself. In his mind, he sees himself as the hero. Daunting a mask and a cape, he heroically faces against the bikers and saves the day. But as quickly as this sequence starts, we are brought back to reality, and what we see is a quiet moment of Takashi reflecting on how he couldn't be that hero. As someone who's not a very confrontational person, I can see myself being in this situation and feeling the same way as Takashi. This film is very bombastic and emotions are heightened, but it's also very quiet and melancholic, and also at times very heartwarming. I absolutely love this film. It's one of those films where when you watch it, you completely understand the filmmaker. You see his own personal beliefs and values really shine through in the filmmaking. The movie makes good use of the song Que Sera Sera from the film The Man Who Knew Too Much. The lyrics explain how no one knows what's gonna happen next. We can't control the small or big misfortunes that come our way. The best thing we can do is keep moving on. After all, what will be, will be.
Older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. Country roads, take me home.
Now for the last movie, I chose Whisper of the Heart, directed by Yoshifumi Kondo. I really want to make sure that the films that I talked about are very distinct from each other. And I will mention that I actually have seen this film before. This is more me looking back and seeing if this movie still holds up. And that is a yes, it's still really, really good. It's really, really cute. It's your typical young romance where our protagonist, Shizuku Tsukishima, meets a guy that leaves an impression on her. There is something that keeps them apart, and she is left to wonder what's to come in her future. You've seen this, I've seen this, but it has that Ghibli charm. Okay, the actual quality of the film aside, it's good. It's a really fucking good movie. But there are a couple of things that I really want to bring up. Number one, you need to watch this one in Japanese. The Yamadas, that worked in English, and I'm pretty sure that can really work in any language. This one, not so much. For the most part, English dubs of Ghibli films are actually pretty okay. They still have some awkward casting choices, but for the most part, pretty solid. However, a huge aspect of this film is completely lost with the English dub. In like the first half of this film, the protagonist Shizuku is translating the lyrics of the song Take Me Home, Crunchy Roads, and that is a song written in English that she's translating into Japanese. That alone will not work in English or any other language really, because if they are not speaking Japanese, you get this really awkward dialogue where the characters are speaking English, acting like they are translating a song that is already in English, and to people like me, that can really take you out of the movie.
I wrote some lyrics for our graduation ceremony, but I'm pretty sure that they stink. Looking over sprawling city, how I do yearn for hills and clouds so pretty. Peaceful bedroom, window with a view, old dog that waits there, where my dreams come true. Country roads, I think I'll go down this path on my own. West Virginia, mountain mama, please take me home, down country road.
If you're gonna watch this film, please watch it in Japanese. The fact that them speaking Japanese is so important to the story really makes this not work in any other language. Okay, the second thing I need to bring up is something that really caught me off guard. Okay, so I watched this film originally when I was like 12 or 13 years old. That is more or less like 10 years ago or so. And for the most part, I remember this film quite well. But rewatching this, I felt really strange. While I was watching this, I had the sudden urge to study and chill to this movie. And then on further inspection, I realized that the main character is like the face of lo-fi hip-hop. And it's not even like one shot, multiple shots are directly used as backgrounds for lo-fi hip-hop videos. So now I can't see the movie the same way ever again. It's kind of ruined for me, because every time I watch it, I just need to study and chill. That was a joke, by the way. Okay, the last thing I kind of want to get off my chest is that the director of Whisper of the Heart, Yoshifumi Kondo, died a couple of years after making this film. Isao Takahata died this year. Miyazaki is kind of the last big director at Ghibli, and I don't exactly know how I feel about that. I really don't want to sound like a downer, but I'm really left wondering if anyone else can make movies like this after Miyazaki is gone. Yes, I know there's Studio Panak and there's also director Hiromasa Yonebayashi, but I only really liked one of his films, and that was when Marnie was there. And from what I heard, Mary and the Witch's Flower was not that well received. I know, I'm being a bit morbid. Yes, there are other directors and other studios that make really interesting and creative films, but the thought of a world where we won't be getting more films like these, or any other Ghibli films that I didn't talk about, is kinda saddening. The good news is we are getting a new Miyazaki film. I guess he decided that retirement was boring, for like the 5th time, but I can't complain, because when the movie's released, you can bet your ass I'll be there to see it. Okay everyone, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, subscribe. You can like the video if you want, or whatever. You can comment down below, that'd be sick. Other than that, yeah, stay tuned. I will be doing something else very special for my next video. It's gonna be a pretty big project that I've been neglecting to finish, but I will finish it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed when it comes out.